Hello everyone, welcome to PrepB. This is Sanjana and today we are going to start with our BARC section. So let me quickly share my screen so that we can get started. I hope my screen is visible to all. So let's get started with it. So we have few reading comprehension, one reading comprehension, and we have some VA questions that we are going to do right now. All right, so let's start with the RC. Theodore Adorno insisted that culture was not merely a matter of technical progress in composing more beautiful, more complicated music, for example, but also, if indirectly, a matter of morality. All right. So here, the author is just trying to say that culture is not just matter of your technical progress. It is more than that. It is something that consists of morality, right? So this Theodore, he believed that culture is not just about improving your skills or making things more complex. It's about the connection. It's about the morality. Music, like all culture, could either develop or obstruct social progress towards greater freedom. So they are saying that music, like all other forms of culture, it can either develop your greater freedom or it can also obstruct your social progress towards the greater freedom. And that progress was under threat. So he's saying that the progress is under danger because music, like all other culture can actually obstruct your social progress towards freedom as well. And now that progress is under threat. So even in pre-war, Vienna, Adorno saw warning signs of collapse in European culture. So he is saying that even in pre-war, he saw some warning signs of collapse in culture that happened in Europe, right? He would later write of Igor Stravinsky's Rite of Spring, which premiered in 1913, that it represented an uproar of culture against its own essence as culture, which is enjoyed as an enticement precisely in its opposition to civilization. Pretty sure कि ये पूरा दिमाग से ऊपर गया है, कुछ भी नहीं समझ में आया होगा, कुछ भी नहीं. Here, the author is just saying that he would later write of, मतलब, who is he? Adorno. Adorno would write of this uh, Stravinsky's Rite of Spring. This is some kind of show you can see, which premiered in 1930, that it represented. So he's just talking about this thing that premiered in 1913, that it represented an uproar of culture against its own essence as culture. What does it mean? It showed culture that is rebelling against its own values, and people liked it. People loved it because it opposed civilization. People liked that rebel. People liked that people are taking stand for something like that. So the ballet's flirtation with barbarism was merely musical. It reflected social facts and indeed showed evidence of a kind of cultural trend towards regression and of the domination of the individual by the social whole. So it just says that the ballet's connection to barbarism wasn't just in the music. It showed real issues like culture moving backwards and individuals that are being controlled by the society. So it reflected all of these. Now, uh, this para making sense to you? To just sum up, is just talking about culture. Culture not is not just about technical progress or improving your skills, but it is more of morality as well. So music, like all culture, it can either develop or also obstruct your social progress towards greater freedom. And now the progress is under threat. Even in pre-war, the authors of some warning signs of collapse in culture in Europe. Then he also mentioned Igor's one of the show, which premiered in 1913, and it says that people loved that because it was rebellious in nature. It showed that things were in opposition to civilization. So it was an uproar of culture, and it also uh, it criticized the downfall of the culture. So it was not just merely musical, it showed real social facts. There was evidence of culture towards regression, there was domination. All the societal causes were clearly mentioned. This is about the first para summary. Now, let's go to the second paragraph. Adorno emigrated to the United States, eventually settling in Los Angeles in 1941. The philosopher who had savaged Stravinsky was now brought face to face with Mickey Mouse. In Minima Moralia, 1951, Adorno wrote despairingly, "Every visit to the cinema leaves me against all my vigilance, stupider and worse." So here the author is just trying to mention about some background, how he emigrated to the US and all of that. But here the main point is this one. Every visit to the cinema leaves me against all my vigilance, stupider and worse. That means he wrote that going to the movies made him feel more dumb, more worse. Even though he tried to resist this feeling, this happened with him, right? Now, like many emigres, Adorno was initially disoriented by US mass culture, which had not yet overrun Europe as it would over the war, after the war. This disorientation became a principled distrust. He claimed that capitalist popular culture, jazz, cinema, pop songs, and so on, manipulates us into living lives empty of true dream and serves only to distort our desires. Very important. What this very clearly shows what the author is trying to feel, what the author is saying about your culture, how it manipulates the movies, how it manipulates your living. Right? These are very strong words which have been used. So first it says that like every other immigrants, Adorno also was confused by the American mass culture. It wasn't as widespread as the European culture, but now this confusion has turned it into strong distrust among the author. He also claimed that the popular culture, capitalist popular culture, all these pop songs, everything, they trick us into living lives without any real freedom, without any true desires. All right. So popular culture is not the spontaneous expression of the people, but it is a profit-driven industry. Very important, very strong words that have been used. It robs us of our freedom and bends us to conform to its need for profit. This distrust of US culture was reciprocal. Both Adorno and his philosophical collaborator, Max Horkheimer, were probably Marxist and were promptly placed under surveillance by the FBI. So he was very openly vocal about all these thoughts. So obviously they were placed under surveillance by the FBI. Their telegrams were intercepted, and one of the Adorno's co-author, Hans Elser, was called before the House an American Activities Committee in 1947 and deported in 1948. So anyone who is being vocal about all these things about, profit-driven industry, how culture is manipulating us into living lives that is not free. So when they used to be vocal about it, obviously they were placed under surveillance by the FBI. They were constantly monitored. Their communications were monitored, and they were questioned by the government, and also they have been deported. The co-author has been deported. So the FBI distrusted Adorno as a transplant from the Marxist background into a capitalist one. All right, now people distrust him as a transplant from a privileged background to a progressive one. The easy response to Adorno's condemnation of popular culture is to dismiss Adorno as a snob. So now what is the response? Now Adorno feels that this is a profit-driven industry and all of that. The easy response to this is by saying that he's a snob. All right. So the FBI distrusted Adorno because he comes from a Marxist background and now he has been moved to a capitalist one. So people criticize him for coming from a coming from a privileged background while speaking for progressive causes. So now a simple way for them to respond to Adorno's criticism of popular culture is to just call him a snob. His dislike of mass culture becomes simply a dislike of the masses that he looked down upon. So people think that his dislike of popular culture means he looked down on ordinary people. All right. He seems patronizing, seeing people as easily fooled and misled, and popular culture as shallow and manipulative. All right, he seems patronizing. That means he comes across as very condescending, believing that people are very easily tricked. And he very vaguely says that, popular culture is shallow, controlling. People don't like to hear all these things that, they can be tricked easily. So in this version, Adorno's argument against popular culture contains no insight, only elitism, while in fact popular culture pleases and gives voice to ordinary people. So, what is the response to Adorno's beliefs? That no, culture actually gives voice to ordinary people, and this is nothing but elitism. He has come from a privileged background, and hence all these things have been depicted by him. All right. But this easy response is misguided. Now, but what the author feels that the easy response is misguided. Adorno did not simply condemn popular culture, nor did he simply yearn for the rule of high culture. He found grave problems with both, and these problems stem from Adorno's profound respect and demand for pleasure, driven by a strong moral concern for our well being. Strange as it might seem, Adorno's broadsides against popular culture are driven by the desire to identify and avoid harms to our flourishing. Popular culture is not only bad art, though it is that he claims, but harmful act. It stands in the way of our true freedom. So, again, now the author says that all these things are misguided. So I don't know, didn't just criticize popular culture or wish that only high culture should be in charge. He actually saw serious problems with both based on his deep respect for real treasure and his moral concern for everyone's well-being. So surprisingly, Adorno criticized popular culture because he wanted to protect people from things that harm their happiness. He thought that popular culture isn't just the bad art, but it is also the harmful act because it stops people from, true freedom. Understood the main idea. First para, second para, everything. Now let's just go to the questions. Based on the passage, which of the following was the underlying motivation driving Adorno's critique of popular culture? Genuine concern for individual well-being and recognition of potential harm. Okay, will not neglect this because yes, here it is given very explicitly that it was actually concerned about the individual well-being, very explicitly mentioned here. All right. And also he recognized it as a potential harm, but it is a harmful act, very clearly given. So we would keep this option. I would just highlight because for you to understand. Just give me a second. Here, well-being, and also the harmful act. All right. So this one we are not neglecting abhi. Then let's say desire for dominance of high culture and disdain for the masses. This is opposite of what is written right here. This is something that is believed. All right, but what the author says that it is misguided thought. So this is something that is believed, a very tricky option, but you have to neglect. This is not the main idea. राइट अंडरलाइंग मोटिवेशन ये नहीं है अंडरलाइंग मोटिवेशन ये है कि he actually cared strangely he actually cared believe in the lack of artistic merit without considering the impact on freedom or well-being okay establishing himself as a cultural authority he didn't want to establish himself as any authority now between 1 and 3 one makes more sense it is more explicitly given in the last paragraph and hence it is the answer now based on the complex perception of Adorno's condemnation of popular culture outlined in the passage, what can be inferred about the response to his arguments? Critics tend to dismiss Adorno's critique of popular culture and perceive his disapproval as a reflection of this disdain for the masses. Very explicitly given here, sorry for that. Very explicitly given that here it is given that they used to dismiss him as a snob and his dislike of mass culture becomes simply a dislike of the masses that he looked down upon. So this is very clearly given. So we'll keep it for now. What is next? Critics argue that Adorno's privileged background hampers his ability to comprehend and evaluate the progressive nature of popular culture. We'll hold on to this. Critics assert that Adorno's patronizing attitude towards ordinary people leads him to underestimate their discernment. This is not true because there is no patronizing attitude towards ordinary people. Critics believe that Adorno's argument against popular culture lacked depth and failed to provide invaluable insights, undermining his credibility, nowhere mentioned. Now, between 1 and 2, 1 is very explicitly given because, see, what can be inferred about the response to his arguments, that it is a reflection of his disdain for the masses. This is clearly given in your second paragraph. Now, critics argue that Adorno's privileged background hampers his ability to comprehend. Now, this is a, very, very strong word that you're using, that we just mentioned earlier that he comes from an very privileged background, right? He comes from privileged to a very progressive one. But people used to distrust him. People distrusted him as a transplant from a privileged background. Nowhere it is mentioned that he did not have an ability. So hence we are going to uh, eliminate this option as well. As per the passage, which of the following was the primary reason behind Adorno's principal distrust of US mass culture? Adorno's disorientation as an emigre confronted by the overwhelming influence of US mass culture, which differed from the European context. No, this is more or less about how, the whole whole culture is about, not giving freedom, or it is a harmful one, that it is exploiting you, all of that. Now, Adorno's conviction in the profit-driven nature of capitalist popular culture, which he believed distorted genuine desires. This we are going to hold on right now. Adorno's philosophical alignment with Marxist principles and his scrutiny of the exploitive nature of the cultural industry under capitalism. Now, this is not the primary reason. Nowhere it is given that he was a matlab, philosophical alignment with Marxist principle is the direct relation that we cannot establish, and hence we are eliminating this option as well. Adorno's association with the Hans Eisler, who faced scrutiny, this is very vague and not at all to be considered, and hence second is your answer. Now, Adorno's assertion regarding the relationship between culture and technical progress indicates that he believed cultural regression is a necessary consequence of excessive technical progress. He never said that it is a necessary consequence of excessive technical progress, and hence we eliminate this. Culture should be divorced from moral consideration. No, he never said this. Actually, he believed the opposite. Technical progress in culture can hinder or facilitate social progress. This is very explicitly given. I'll show you where. Technical progress as an obstacle. He mentioned both as an obstacle and it can develop or obstruct your social progress is given. And hence, third is your answer. Now, let's do some verbal ability. So the four sentences are given and we need to arrange them as per your mm, order. So please go through it. New brain machine interferes with interfaces will improve our memory and cognition, extend our senses, and confer direct control over an array of semi-intelligent gadgets. Genetic and epigenetic modification will allow us to change our physical appearance and capabilities, as well as to tweak some of the more intangible aspects of being of our being, such as emotion, creativity, or sociability. Within the lifetimes of most children today, bioenhancement is likely to become basic future feature of human society. Personalized pharmaceuticals will enable us to modify our bodies and minds in powerful and precise ways with far fewer side effects than today's drug. See, 3 starts the paragraph by introducing the main idea that bioenhancement will become a common feature in the future within the lifetime of today's children. So this sets the stage for the rest of the paragraph. 4. 4 is followed by an example of how this bioenhancement might happen through personalized pharmaceuticals that modifies our bodies and minds in precise ways. 1 is adding another example to this, and hence after 4, we'll have 1. And then comes 2, which concludes that it concludes by saying that how genetic and epigenetic modification will allow us to change not just our physical experience, but also more abstract aspects like emotions, creativity, etc. So 3, 4, 1, 2. 3, 4, 1, and 2. 2 is your conclusion. Now, the four sentences are given below, which when properly sequenced, they form a coherent paragraph. So we need to decide. There is also what I call the big picture defense, claiming that evil only appears as such from our limited perspectives. Others have argued मतलब पहले कुछ argument आएगा उसके बाद ये आएगा. There is an argument of free will attributing evil not to good but to humanity's misuse of its own freedom. Many solutions to the problem of evil called theodicies have been proposed. So see, 4 introduces the idea. Many solutions to the problem of evil have been proposed. What are they? That we are going to discuss. Now, there is an argument. This is your first solution. There is an argument of the free will that it is not to God, but to humanity's misuse of its own freedom. So, 4 is followed by 3. Right. Now, others have argued. आ जाएगा तुम्हारा because obviously एक argument के बाद दूसरा argument and then whatever is left 4, 3, 2, 1. Very easy, very simple. Now, let's do seventh one. Ex nihilo nihil fit, nothing comes out of nothing. This principle is an expression of our inability to believe that something could spring into existence or happen without a cause. Imagine that a glass on a table suddenly exploded. Even if you don't have the slightest idea what caused the glass to behave in that manner, you'll still assume that something must have caused it. If it isn't necessary that events are caused by something, then anything would be possible. But if anything were possible, then we couldn't act anymore because in order to act effectively, we must be able to trust in the reliability of the causal relations. So we are certain that there is a reason why the glass exploded. And if there is nothing else, we will rather believe in supernatural causes than believe there is no cause at all. We are certain that something must have caused it when whatever it is. So we are just saying that कोई ना कोई cause कुछ ना कुछ तो होता ही है. No cause जैसी कुछ चीज होती ही नहीं. Nothing comes out of nothing. This is actually your main summary. So nothing comes out of nothing indicates a cause behind everything. First para में ही पूरा तुम्हारा summary दे रखा है. But let's wait. If there is anything better, we'll hold on now. Because of their need to believe in the reliability of causal relations, human beings assume that there is a cause behind everything. Right? Now, see, nothing comes out of nothing. It indicates a cause behind everything. ये statement indicate कर रही है कि हर एक चीज के पीछे कोई cause है? No. This is some distortion. So we are going to cancel. ये we are going to hold on. Second one is fine. We are going to hold. Human beings assume that there is a cause behind everything because they need order to act effectively. No, it is not given. Human beings are unable to believe that something could happen without a cause and are willing to assign even supernatural causes to things. See, this is given, but this is not the main idea. Main idea ये है कि we have a need to believe that causal relations exist. There is a cause behind everything. अब हम supernatural ऐड कर देंगे जो भी करेंगे. That is secondary thing. Alright, second is your answer. Now, Genoa has always felt a strangely English place too. The city's flag is St. George's Cross. It was here that Italy's oldest football team, still called Genoa Cricket and Football Club, was founded by an English doctor. It went on to win 9 championships in the glory days of the early 20th century. The English were just one of the many influences. Genoa has always been an integral part of the Mediterranean basin, and there are traces of Arabic and Portuguese in the dialect. The city's music, especially that of the Italian Bob Dylan, Fabrizio Bianchi, often sounds far more sophisticated than bubblegum Italian pop. So Genuina offers a great amalgamation of Italian and Anglo culture. Yes, it is clearly given here. England's occupation has helped the city to evolve. नहीं. Genoa और through the help of merchants नहीं भी आए कहीं भी ये सब merchants के help से is a shining example. It offers best of both the culture नहीं भी आए. And hence first is your answer. Ninth one, healthcare is a peculiar industry. Cars get cheaper, but medical care doesn't. That is because a life saved from cancer is a life waiting to be killed by another disease, which needs treating. Survivors of cancer get heart attack, and survivors of heart attack get cancer, and survivors of both get dementia. It's like a restaurant where you can't just pay for lunch, you also have to pay for breakfast and dinner, and maybe a few samosas in between. But unlike eating, consumption of medical care is not guarded by satiety. So medical care is extremely costly because human beings tend to catch diseases. No, no ये नहीं दिया है. Medical care can never be cheap like cars or any other commodities since there is something new going on. New going on नहीं दिया है, ये दिया है कि कुछ ना कुछ मतलब साइड ये करोगे तो वो हो जाएगा. So medical care, unlike other commodities, has no benchmark when it comes to satisfaction, and thus lacks a limiting factor. ये last time में दिया भी है कि unlike eating, consumption of medical care is not guarded by statutory. Medical care is never going to also this can be considered. Medical care is never going to be cheap since one human being can get many diseases and healthcare anyway is a particular industry. Very wrong, very distortion of facts. And hence three is your answer. All right, so this is about VARC. Uh, Let me know in the comment box if you have any doubts. We'll be very happy to help. And good luck for your exam. We'll keep continuing the series. Thank you, everyone.